to simply, especially when you talk about youth mentorship, is matching young people with caring adults or mentors to provide support and guidance.
Okay.
The first foundation is to connect with our Creator, who is our Maker, with God.
I believe as we run our own individual races of life, you may not realize how many young people are running with you. Possibly you don't see them, but there are people watching.
Good evening and welcome to KBC Prime Edition. Tonight we bring you comprehensive coverage of the day's top stories with a special focus on the new 3 additions to the cabinet, a development set to shape Kenya's leadership landscape. In business, we'll explore the latest trends impacting the economy, and in sports, stay tuned for highlights from both local and international arenas. I'm Caren Kibbett, standing in for our business anchor Cynthia Nyamai. Let's get started. Here are the highlights. A heartbeat away, National Assembly approves Mutahi Kagwe, William Kabogo and Lee Kinyanjui for appointment as cabinet secretaries.
The complaints filed will be dealt with in accordance with the processes and procedures developed and in compliance with the rule of law and Fair Administrative Action Act.
Diminishing confidence, 5 petitions filed against judges, including CJ Martha Koome, within the first 2 weeks of the year 2025.
We want to really apologize on behalf of the ministry for the challenges that our patients faced.
Health CS Deborah Baraza visits Kenyatta National Hospital, assures Kenyans all the loose ends of SHA system have been fixed. Welcome to KBC Prime Edition. Our sign language interpreter this evening is Brian Muraro. Now, the National Assembly has approved the nomination for appointment of former governors William Kabogo, Lee Kinyanjui and former Minister Mutahi Kagwe as cabinet secretaries. MPs, while adopting the report of the Committee on Appointments, expressed confidence that the 3 nominees will add value to the national executive given their rich experience in public service. The House also approved the appointment of former Deputy Inspector General Noor Gabo and former Cabinet Secretaries Andrew Karanja and Ababu Namwamba as envoys.
Members of the National Assembly held a special sitting to, among other businesses, consider the nomination for appointment of 3 Cabinet Secretaries, 3 envoys and members of 2 independent commissions.
So, Mr. Speaker, that public service has impacted a lot of knowledge and experience on these 3 gentlemen, Mr. Speaker. I don't think they could have been better people to serve in these ministries than those people, Mr. Speaker.
The MPs approved former Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe to head the Agriculture and Livestock Development docket and urged him to deal with cartels in the agriculture sector.
And I want to request Honorable Kagwe to come with the same great slogans to the young people so that he may be able to teach them agriculture and enable them to understand that agriculture is also a way of earning a living.
The MPs also approved former governors Lee Kinyanjui and William Kabogo to lead trade and ICT ministries respectively. The MPs challenged Kinyanjui to develop policies to boost the manufacturing sector and Kabogo to deal with abuse of social media.
Honorable Speaker, on the front of ICT, under the Honorable William Kabogo, I don't have a benefit of having worked with him, but having felt him as a governor of Kiambu, he was a forthright, and as well as a member of this House, Honorable Speaker, you could see, I went to the Hansard, and you could see, Honorable Speaker, how astute Honorable Kabogo was on the floor.
The lawmakers also demanded that the 3 new cabinet secretaries must serve the entire nation with no bias towards their region.
Serve with honor, serve with diligence, serve with the commitment that you have served in. For these 3 nominees, Honorable Speaker, cabinet secretaries come into office to serve all the people of Kenya and the government of the day, and they serve not just the regions they come from, Honorable Speaker.
The House also approved the appointment of former cabinet secretaries Andrew Karanja as the ambassador in Brazil, Ababu Namwamba as permanent representative of Kenya to UNEP, and former Deputy Inspector General Noor Gabo as Consular General Haiti. The MPs, however, took issue with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for failing to conduct due diligence on proposed nominees for ambassadorial positions before their names are made public.
We sit with so many diplomats, trained diplomats from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They are expressing their frustration. It spits on their face when there are nominees who do not even wish to go to stations, and there are officers who stagnated in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Gishuki Washira, Prime Edition.
Thank you, Washira, for that report. Now, the nominations have been approved. Be sure to tune in to KBC Channel 1 tomorrow at 10 a.m. to witness the swearing-in ceremony of the cabinet secretaries. And that particular story, be sure to join us later on, as I'll be joined by Dr. Isaac Hassan, governance expert, and Mwangale Philip, who is an advocate and a governance expert, to shed more light on the significance of these appointments. Moving on, Cabinet Secretary nominee for ICT and Digital Economy William Kabogo says his first priority once he takes office will be to focus on helping the youth to create job opportunities in the digital space. He said if youths are offered relevant skills, they will be productive.
Digital economy. And I've been talking about helping the young people of Kenya to become entrepreneurs, either through digital economy works or a studio like this one of yours. And I hope that we should be able to bring many young people here to study and learn what it is you're doing on the job.
Yes.
And create very rich young boys and girls.
Yes.
Those will be as rich as I am soon.
Yes. Yes. 3 point. 3 point.
So that we show Kenyans that there is a way.
Yes.
That this energy that you people have can be redirected to become productive. Sindio?
Yeah.
Asante sana. Thank you very much.
We appreciate. Thank you very much.
The National Assembly has unanimously approved 7 members for appointment as members of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, CRC. During the debate to consider their nomination, members of Parliament cautioned the candidates to execute their mandate as required if appointed. Legislators approved Sami Chepkonyi to succeed Lynn Mengich as CRC chairperson, Martin Kizito Ongonyi, Mohamed Aden Abdi, Leonid Ashindu, Gilda Odera, Geoffrey Apollo Omondi, and Jen Gataka Njage were endorsed to serve as members. Each member represents a different sector in the government, including the Defence Council, county governments, Parliament, and the Teachers Service Commission.
Speaker, I want to ask this commission, this new commission as they come into office, to engage other stakeholders. And I'm told by the chair of the committee, when they engage with all these individual commissioners as we are vetting them, they did commit that they will work in a consultative manner, they will engage stakeholders, and by the time they make decisions, they will make decisions that are out of a consultative process.
Commissions are supposed to be independent. They are supposed to assist the citizens. There's becoming a trend when commissions are ceding their independence. They are starting not to do the work that they were meant to do. This is becoming a threat to the Constitution and to the commissions themselves. I urge that all our constitutional commissions, and this commission particularly, should do its work without fear or favor, and should do its work with competence, and should do its work for the benefit of Kenyans at large.
Let them not just sit there, but remember we put them as full-time so that these things can be harmonized, and we need a peaceful relationship. If there are cases, like the president said, where you have a commission suing the other, they are unnecessary. Let them be withdrawn so that, Honorable Speaker, we can be in the same light and we can be safeguarding the constitutional mandates of the various budgets.
There is an enormous responsibility ahead of them, that of checking the wage bill and focusing on the productivity in the entire public service, so that also we can have a country where even those who do not earn as much feel that indeed they are considered.
The Ministry of Health has assured Kenyans of a seamless health service delivery after a section of Kenyans decried technical hitches experienced in the Social Health Insurance Fund portal. Acknowledging the breakdown experienced at Kenyatta National Hospital, Cabinet Secretary for Health Deborah Barasa said they have put in place an alternative system that will not be interrupted.
Following complaints from the public about problems with the Social Health Authority, Cabinet Secretary for Health Deborah Barasa visited Kenyatta National Hospital to assess the situation. Accompanied by her principal secretaries, the CS toured the labor and maternity wards to ascertain any challenges experienced by the new mothers. Later on, she visited the billing and discharge unit where hundreds of Kenyans were queuing, waiting to get pre-authorization services. Here, the CS interacted with the portal. Addressing the media at the facility, Barasa acknowledged the system interruption experienced on the 14th and 15th of January, which she says has been fixed.
We want to really apologize on behalf of the ministry for the challenges that our patients faced. And so, having identified the system interruption, we've been able to first visit the labor ward as well as the maternity area. We have also seen the billing and discharge area in this facility. And we are happy to report that the system is up and running following great work. There was tireless and endless work among the technical team.
In a bid to avoid similar challenges in the future, the ministry says it has put in place an alternative system.
And we are happy to report to Kenyans that yes, we have an alternative system, and we have experienced and seen that there is no system interruption. The incidents occurred on the 14th and 15th up to 10 a.m. and the backlog has been sorted. Patients have are receiving seamless services.
However, she urged Kenyans to register for the SHA to access quality medical services. Kasi Chanamasha, Prime Edition.
Moving on, the Judicial Service Commission has said it will handle all complaints filed against judges according to the process and procedures developed in compliance with the rule of law. The Commission noted that since the beginning of the year, 5 petitions have been tabled against judges, including Chief Justice Martha Koome.
Speaking in Nairobi during a press briefing, the Judicial Service Commission Vice Chair Isaac Ruto announced that the Commission has received 935 petitions between 2011 and 2024.
Out of the 935 petitions to complaints received, 862 have been finalized and 12 petitions have been forwarded to the President recommending for the formation of a tribunal for removal.
According to Ruto, 862 cases have been finalized and 12 petitions have been forwarded to the President recommending the formation of a tribunal.
The remaining 73 petitions are at various stages of processing. Since the beginning of the year 2025, The JSC has received a total of 5 petitions to complaints against judges.
This year, 5 cases have been filed, with the latest one dated 13th January 2025, filed by former Law Society of Kenya President Nelson Havi, seeking the removal of all 7 Supreme Court judges.
The JSC acknowledges receipt of a petition dated 10th January 2025, filed by Mr. Nelson Havi against the following judges of the Supreme Court of Kenya: Honorable Lady Justice Martha Koome, Chief Justice; Honorable Lady Justice Philomena Mwilu, Deputy Chief Justice; Honorable Justice Mohammed Ibrahim; Honorable Justice Dr. Smokin Wanjala; Honorable Lady Justice Joaquin Dungu; Honorable Justice Isaac Lenaola; Honorable Justice William Ouko.
2 separate petitions were filed against Honorable Justice Alfred Mabe of the High Court over alleged gross misconduct and misbehavior. A petition has also been filed against Honorable Justice Lucas Leperes Naikuni, alleging incompetence in the discharge of judicial duties. The Judicial Service Commission has, however, assured the public that the complaints will be dealt with per the process and procedures developed and in compliance with the Rule of Law and Fair Administration Act. For Prime Edition, I'm Alvin Kaunder.
And that report leads us to our first break right here on KBC Prime Edition. Don't go too back. We'll be right back.
Christmas ni sahi ishafika na ni kubwa kubwa. Kweli? Hii Kristi ni bomba na Blue Santa kupitia star 570 hash option 1. Rudia. Star 570 hash option 1. Iko PlayStation 5 na 55 inch TV na iko 500,000 Kenyan shillings. Nambuzi moja? Nambuzi. 1 million Kenyan shillings na Samsung S24 Ultra. Nabuzi moja? Iko 2 million Kenyan shillings na iPhone 16 Pro Max. Nabuzi mbili? Blue Santa amekuja na zawadi kibao. Nani kubwa kubwa? Hapa kuna ndogo ndogo. Hapa Christmas ni bomba.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tumekita mizizi hapa JKUAT kitengo cha food science na kukuandalia mapochopocho.
Tunataka tu add value, ndio hizo vitu ziweze mkulima pia aweze kupata dhamana ya zile vitu au ya zile mazao ambayo anakusa shambani.
Usikose kujumuika nami siku ya Jumamosi saa 10:30 kwa uhondo kamili.
Welcome back to KBC Prime Edition. For those joining us, welcome back. Our sign language interpreter is Brian Muraru. Let's proceed. A section of clergy under the banner of Nairobi religious leaders has condemned utterances by Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi on his son's abduction, terming them as reckless. The clerical said Muturi ought to have spoken when the ordeal occurred in June last year and reported the matter to the National Security Council, which he was a member. They urged the leaders across the political divide to avoid divisive politics, sentiments echoed by a Nairobi-based youth lobby group.
We wish to address the recent remarks made by former Attorney General Justin Muturi concerning the alleged abduction of his son. These utterances are not only reckless, but also a blatant breach of the oath of office he once swore to uphold. First, it is deeply concerning that Mr. Muturi, during his tenure as the Attorney General, a key member of the National Security Council, chose not to raise such a matter in the appropriate forums where national security concerns are deliberated, one must question why such a sensitive issue was never addressed in the Cabinet or the National Security Council if it indeed held any merit.
Moving on, in the scales of justice, the High Court in Milimani, Nairobi has upheld a decision made by the Senate in September last year suspending nominated Senator Gloria Orwoba from participating in parliamentary activities for 6 months due to gross misconduct. Meanwhile, the High Court, through Justice Bahati Mwamuye, has referred a petition challenging the appointment of Professor Kithure Kindiki as Deputy President to Chief Justice Martha Koome to empanel a bench to hear the case.
Justice Lawrence Mugambi concurred with the decision by the Senate to suspend nominated Senator Gloria Orwoba from the August House until May this year. Justice Mugambi said he did not find an infringement of the right to a fair administrative action or the right to a fair hearing in the circumstances of the case and dismissed the petition filed by Senator Orwoba with cause to the respondents. Elsewhere, Justice Bahati Mwamuye has referred a petition filed by an activist, Eno Kaura, through lawyer Harrison Kinyanjui to the Chief Justice to constitute a bench. In the petition, the activist has challenged the appointment of Professor Kithure Kindiki as Deputy President of Kenya. Justice Mwamuye ruled the amended petition raises weighty and substantial questions of law that require the mind of more than a single judge. And Jackson Kuria Kiara alias Cop Shakur will remain in custody until Monday 20th January to enable Directorate of Criminal Investigation officers to complete investigations into his conduct.
Intake system that operates at DPP is that all the files are brought to the office for purposes of e-filing. Leading to an accused or a respondent then to be brought to court.
Kiara, who is the prison warden, is accused of publishing false information on his ex-account and inciting other members of the discipline forces.
A similar application seeking custodial orders where 1. A holding church was not produced. 2, the test that is required to hold an accused person was never met.
Chief Magistrate Lucas Onyina has ruled that he be detained for 3 days instead of the 21 days requested by the investigating officer. Shakur was arrested at Committee Maximum Prison Staff Residence on Wednesday, 15 January this year. Ruth Wamboi for Prime Edition.
The Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee is calling on counties to enter into an intergovernmental partnership agreement with the national government on educational support to effectively coordinate the devolving of the function. The calls come following a circular from the Office of the Controller of Budget on functions of county governments towards the provision of education support. In the circular, the Controller of Budget said the processes require the formulation of an intergovernmental agreement which must be executed by an authorized person and published in the Kenya Gazette.
The Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee has moved to clarify the debate around the mandate of educational support initiatives, specifically the issuance of bursaries and scholarships by county governments. Committee Vice Chairperson Sadia Kontom noted that the majority of pre-primary, primary and secondary education institutions are interlinked, and the absence of legislation to govern the issuance of bursaries and scholarships in the country places the functions under the purview of the national government.
To effectively coordinate the resourcing of this function, we urge counties to enter intergovernmental partnership agreements with the national government, as it has been the trend in other functions that have been transferred.
Kuntoma further added that an intergovernmental agreement will ensure mechanisms are put in place to fund functions transferred to the devolved unit.
To bring synergy in the performance of the function by the two levels of government, we call for activation of an education sector forum where stakeholders can deliberate on the matter and where they will agree and the same to the summit and table the same to the summit.
Some of these processes are ongoing, and most of them are need-based. Where a need arises is when you realize, oh, one level of government will decide and say, oh, we need this to be done. But we have said, as long as services to the citizenry is not disrupted.
In the circular to County Executive Committee, members for the control of budget, Margaret Nyakongo, noted that Part 1 of the 4th schedule under Section 16 of the Constitution designates universities, tertiary educational institutions, primary schools, special education, secondary schools and special education institutions as functions of national government. Therefore, for a devolved unit to offer educational support towards those functions, the process must adhere to provisions of Article 187 of the Constitution and Section 26 of the Intergovernmental Relations Act, Cap 265F, which require the formulation of an intergovernmental agreement which must be executed by an authorized person and published in the Kenya Gazette. Yusufar reporting for Prime Edition.
Kenya National Union of Nurses in Mombasa and Bungoma want their county governments to heed their demands if they are to go back to work. Mombasa County nurses began their strike today, while Bungoma County nurses are on the 4th day of their strike, as our reporter Ann Buru gives us the details.
Armed with banners and the public address system, nurses in Mombasa County gathered outside the Coast Provincial Training and Referral Hospital, singing and chanting Haki Yetu slogans as they downed their tools after their strike notice elapsed. The Mombasa branch chairman, Eric Otieno, reiterated that they would only go back to work until their demands are met, which include promotions and the contractual nurses employed to permanent and pensionable terms.
We have been talking, but still we have not been able to actualize. So these are some of the issues. Among them, we have redesignations. There are some of us who have gone back to school. They have gained more experience, more training. They have come back, but they have not been placed rightfully as per the guideline. Among them, some are also issues about the UHC nurses. Yeah, these are people that have been engaged by the ministry but are serving the county, and we are asking that they also need to be absorbed PNP because what they are paid is not commensurate by what they are supposed to, the service they are giving. So those are some of among the issues that we have been raising out to the employees.
In Bungoma County, the nurses took to the streets marking day 4 of their strike, demanding for their CBA to be honoured, more nurses employed having their permanent and pensionable contracts, and the SRC circular implemented and backdated to the time it was released.
Our irreducible minimums are, we also want to agitate and request our good government to make sure that the SRC circular that was released in 2024 be implemented in full, be implemented and be backdated since the time of the release of that circular from SRC. And we are committed that we shall not go back in the wards, we shall not go back in the facilities unless our 10 issue point have been fully addressed, not partially, fully addressed as per the strike notice that we serve the government.
For Prime Edition from Mombasa County, I am Ann Buru.
Now, shock and grief engulfed Gikomora Primary School in Maragua, Murang'a County after a gate wall collapsed, resulting in the death of a grade 9 student while others fled to safety. Eyewitnesses reported that the tragic event was caused by the deterioration of the wall, which had been built over 20 years ago and was structurally weak. Details on this and other stories making headlines in our county news roundup.
According to the rescuers, the deceased 15-year-old Francis Gishuhi was leaving school with his classmates after classes when he stopped to tie his shoes near the gate before a stone fell on him.
Jana jioni watoto wakitoka shule walipata ajali. Mtoto mmoja wakati wa jioni wakienda nyumbani alikuwa hapa kwa gate na alikuwa ameinama kufunga kiatu uzi wa kiatu akiwa ameinama, jiwe ikampata, ikamwangukia hapa kwa mgongo, mtoto akaanguka. Watoto wengine wakiwa katika harakati za kumsaidia, mawe yote yakaanguka, yakamwangukia, watoto wakapotea, wakashindwa watamsaidia vipi.
Ukuta umezeeka kabisa na inastahili ibomolewe yote, tutengeneze ingine tena.
Meanwhile, Busia County Governor Dr. Paul Otoma has urged residents to enroll in the Social Health Authority medical scheme to access affordable medical services at any health facility.
Tafadhali mjiandikishe, mtoe siasa kwa hivi vitu. Kwa sababu NHIF ilienda. Na kama hauna bima, wewe unatuletea shida mara 3. Kitu ya kwanza, huwezi kutibiwa ukiwa mgonjwa. Unataka tutoe harambee. Kitu ya pili, hata ukienda hospitali ukitumia pesa yako unalipishwa pesa kidogo. Lakini ukiwa na kadi, hiyo pesa kadi inalipa inarudi kwa hiyo hospitali kusaidia hiyo hospitali.
Still on matters of health, Narok County Commissioner Kibbett Lotiatia has highlighted that the new medical scheme SHA offers more benefits compared to the defunct NHIF, urging residents not to be misled by politicians regarding the SHA registration.
Wananchi wakuje kwa wingi, wajitokeze basa, kwa sababu tunaona kama bado kuna watu wengi ambao bado hawajajisajili, na hapo ndio sasa kuna changamoto. Ni vile watu wengine labda kuchangamoto inatokea kwa sababu ya ile propaganda na labda misinformation.
Deputy Chief of Staff Elido Walo has embarked on a performance evaluation for the National Social Security Fund for the 2023-2024 financial year.
For each and every one of those programs and activities, we had very clear expected outputs, the output indicators, and the time-bound targets. Those commitments were geared towards ensuring that there is growth and retention in the level of contributions. You also intended to increase the coverage of informal sector through strategic alliances and partnerships.
Finally, in the Butere area of Kakamega County, there was a mood of celebration and joy after a teenage mother who was forced to drop out of school after becoming pregnant stunned many by achieving a B- in the national KCSE examination.
And I'm grateful to Professor Janet for her program, A Helping Hand to Teen Mothers. It has really changed my life. I feel like my dream of becoming a nurse is soon to become true, and it's all thanks to her.
Christine Matunda for Prime Edition.
The total is 1,981.
How much?
1,981. Are you sure you want to?
I'm sure. Please hurry up. You remember me?
Dad, why aren't you talking to me?
Hey, who are you? Why do you have my wife's phone? Tell me.
Anichapa, wakaniumiza, hata grandsons wake ndo walikuwa nasema, "Auntie amefanya nini, msamee, usimchape."
Wacha huyu msichana atwangwe. Wacha kung'utwe. Wacha kung'utwe.
Unasema nilikuwa nimekuajiri kazi?
Ndio.
Ninaishi wapi?
Ninaishi Kilelesho.
Kweli?
Ndio.
Kwani kuna Kilelesho wangapi? Mimi simjui. 3 years.
Yes, 3 years.
Wacha najui where she was living.
Najui barabara inaitwa.
Najui barabara inaitwa. Wewe.
Makalio ikaumia.
Na mkamfukuza usiku.
Ni reasonable doubt.
Iko hapa kama accident.
Leta hiyo makalio tuone.
Umemaliza maswali?
Umemaliza swali.
Kwa wapi tukichapa?
Nilikuwa kwa mliango nikakuja kusaidia, mkaniambia you will be in the mix. Mimi nikawacha.
Ati
nitakuwa kwa mix. Yaani watanichapa pia hao.
Tuendelee?
Yes, obviously you have to be back.
Kuuliza nini?
Ameniuliza kama huyo msichana anampenda yeye mheshimiwa.
Welcome back. Now, earlier today, Parliament approved the nomination of 3 new cabinet secretaries, Mutai Kagwe, William Kabogo, and Lee Kinyanjui. This move has sparked discussions about what their appointments mean for governance, policy direction, and service delivery to Kenyans. To shed more light on this significant development, I am joined by Dr. Isaac Hassan, a governance expert, and Mr. Mwangale Philip, an advocate and governance expert. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And to begin, Dr. Isaac, I'd love for you to shed your thoughts on the significance of this appointment and what Kenyans can expect moving forward.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I think after the 2010 Constitution, the dynamics of appointments in Kenya has changed. The business of presidency or the executive appointing people on the streets and then taking office or assuming office became the past thing. In that, according to the Constitution, key commissions as well as cabinet secretaries are basically nominated by the president, vetted by parliamentary committees and the public in terms of public participation, or rather public trying to give their views in regards to the nominees. And of course, then parliamentarians either approving or disapproving the report that will be submitted by the parliamentary committee in charge of appointments. Now, the key important thing basically is because of accountability and suitability of individuals appointed to that positions. And the purpose of doing that basically is because of the legal framework that has been placed in our Constitution in 2010. And the important thing basically is the parliamentary committee try to understand the nominees in under the process where we call interviewing, where they try to understand the inside of that particular person. One, on academic qualifications for that particular position. Secondly, in terms of issues related to previous experience in government matters or in the role that they are being interviewed for. And finally, issues related to ethics, whether this particular person has been involved in any malpractice or corruption cases. These are the things that the panel who are vetting the nominees are expected to look into. Additionally, they are given additional information that is gathered from the public, where they are also allowed in writing to submit issues related to the nominees to the committee
27
in
countries,
reference to where they are expected to deliver that particular services. Therefore, the framework, or rather the legal framework that has been provided by the Constitution in 2010 gave the opportunity to understand who must hold certain positions of accountability within the government setup. Therefore, this process now is always has to go through that vetting, so that the conclusion is that once the parliament approves, then the nominee is sent back to the president, where the president now appoints to those nominees to the positions that earlier on nominated for. In the event that a nominee has been disallowed, either at the vetting of the committee level or at the parliament level, then the president is now obliged to appoint again another nominee for the same position, so that they go through the same process.
So in this case,
the bottom line is that the the legal framework that has been established in 2010 guides the process from the beginning up to the end, contrary to before the 2010 constitution, where the president had all the mandates to appoint. Therefore, the president has only the nomination mandate. The parliamentarians scrutinize, and the suitability of that particular nominee is checked. And once it is approved by parliament, the president now gets again another mandate to appoint the person to that positions that earlier on nominated for.
Thank you very much. Now, Akili, Philip, these three nominees are coming at a crucial time at President William Ruto administration. What are they bringing to the cabinet?
Thank you for having me. To be very frank, nothing. That is our reality. These people have been at different levels of government before. Kabogo served as a county governor. Lee Kinyanjui served as governor. Mutahi Kagwe served as a CS. But to answer what exactly they bring to the table, we must address what Dr. Isaac has mentioned, the SAPs of legislative vetting of executive action. He has mentioned suitability, and suitability deals with fitness for purpose, fitness for office, and competence. I, for one, do not believe that if we are to look critically at the dockets to which they have been now approved for, you would not see that competence bit. The A is for accountability. Now, accountability deals with past actions and present dispositions. So if we are to look at the history of these individuals who are nominated by the president, what is their footprint? What is their governance footprint? What is their integrity footprint? And unfortunately, and I mean, I'm saddened to tell Kenyans that their footprint is not very good. The two former governors have had issues during their tenures in office. Mutahi Kagwe had issues when he was cabinet secretary for health. There is a pending huge scandal at KEMSA and at Ministry of Health at Afya House that he superintended over. So that cannot be said to have been given a clean bill of health. But the other P on the SAPs is predictability. This kind of exercise is supposed to determine what values these people possess. What are their philosophies? Because government action, just like with our laws, has to be predictable. We need to know this individual getting into the Ministry of Agriculture. What are we likely to see as their decisions going forward? Because their personal inclinations, philosophies, and values inform how they deal with policy. Because aside from the fact that President William Ruto micromanages ministries, at least we have heard that from the politicians themselves, the cabinet secretary has a lot to do with the direction the ministry takes. So we would have expected that Parliament would have delved deeper into these issues, but they have failed us. Now, when you hear, because we've seen and watched those interviews, I remember in one instance, one interviewee got very irritated. He was visibly angered. And the chair, the Speaker of the National Assembly, could only muster, compose yourself and answer. If you do not want to answer, then, it's sort of treating these individuals with velvet gloves. If you contrast that with what we are seeing in the United States Senate, President-elect Trump's nominees have been grilled properly. While some of them may be approved, the public is able to see who these individuals are. So if you had past issues, those issues will be brought to the fore. Unlike what we have in our case, citizens may, send emails to the committee, and then the individual who is being called for the interview is sent those queries that have been forwarded. And when he appears, the chair of the committee says, there are some questions that we sent to you, and you have answered them to our satisfaction. Now, that is a failure for me, because it is not the committee that inquired or sent these queries. It is a citizen out there. It is incumbent upon the committee to also satisfy the public that the individuals who are going to superintend over these ministries are people that the public should trust. So I think there's a big gap in Parliament. And let me just conclude on that point by saying, to the chagrin of Parliament itself and many who support this government, that this National Assembly specifically is perhaps one of the most important parliaments, if not in the Commonwealth, then across the globe. Because what they are supposed to do, and actually what they end up achieving, is somehow incidental to what they set out to do. They have somehow managed miraculously to set a very low target, a very low bar, and we have no option but to celebrate them when they meet their targets, and that is unfortunate. So I don't think these new cabinet secretaries are bringing anything new to the table. It will be same old, same old.
I think Wakili touched on pertinent issues in Parliament. And I never thought he will go far like that. He has gone actually deep into Parliament.
Yes, but, he has. But before we delve into what Wakili has said, allow us to take a short break. Then we will be right back to further expound on what Wakili has said. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back right here on KBC Prime Edition.
Star 570 hash. Option 1 kuna PS5 na ni full package na inakuja na JBL Party Box. Your boom experience pia iko.
What Elizabeth dismissed as a headache and dizziness later on turned to paralysis.
Nilishikwa tu na kizunguzungu, nilikuwa njiani nikienda kazi. Saa vile nilishindwa kwenda nilirudi. Saa ikakuwa nilianza kukosa kuona.
Nilitumia scratches for a while. Juu ya hiyo undu wakati nilikatwa niliambiwa nikae for some time.
When people lose a limb due to accidents or other reasons, we give them a new limb so they can walk again.
Because we're differently able.
Welcome back to KBC Prime Edition. I am with Dr. Isaac Hassan, a governance expert, and Wakili Mwangale Philip, who is also a governance expert and advocate, and they are shedding more light on the significance of the appointments of the three cabinet secretaries, that is Mr. Lee Kinyanjui, William Kabogo, and Mutahi Kagwe. So before we took a short break, we were looking into this. And Wakili Isaac, I'd love for you to tell us, what do you think would be the first assignment upon resumption into office after the swearing-in ceremony that will take place tomorrow right here on KBC Channel 1 at 10 a.m.
Right. I think before I go to what is there for them in their tray and what we expect from them, I want to touch slightly on the dynamics in the political process, because the vetting sometimes is influenced by the political process. And the biggest challenge is issues related to political affiliations and public opinions. And sometimes you'll realize that the parliamentarians will fail you in their role as representative of the people to ensure that people who are nominated for public offices are vetted through the processes that are ordinarily expected by the law. That never happens because the political influence, affiliation issues, and of course the needs of other individuals who probably their appointment was backed by tribal balancing will go into play a role. When we come to what is in their tray, we don't expect a lot from cabinet secretaries. Ideally, state departments where the cabinet or the ministries where the cabinet heads have technical people who are headed by the principal secretaries. And these are the people we expect them to deliver in their respective roles as a technical people within that ministry. The cabinet secretary plays the optic role in terms of policy issues, policy dissemination, and playing a link between policy formation to between the parliament and the legislative arm of the government and the ministry or the executive. And of course, their role is purely supporting the executive and the presidency. And if they are expected to do that, we have had experience in the previous cabinet secretaries who took the role of permanent principal secretaries or even the technical people in the ministry. And eventually they were left with, because technical team have a very unique way of dealing with people who do not understand their role when they are given certain tasks. Because they are the boss, they leave them out, and then the ministry's performance collapses. And I tend to think Kagwe will not going to have something like that because he has already had his better part of his experience as a cabinet secretary. My fear is the two governors who are being exposed to the executive role at the national level at the moment, and they might go in there with a political sound where they think now they have been given a ministry to man the way they want it, like the way our governors manage their counties, contrary to the way the normal procedures, policies, and of course the law dictates. None of them follow that. So if they tow and learn from the previous cabinets who have failed in their roles, and probably they have been replaced because of performance, then they might sail in very quickly and pick up their role very quickly and try to play the pivotal role they are expected to play. But if they go in with the egoism or the kind of cabinet secretaries we have seen previously in different state ministries, then we don't expect a lot from them. They might actually even collapse the existing functions and systems that are in place if they will not learn to work with the technical people running those ministries.
So Wakili Philip, we're looking at the three cabinet secretaries, Lee Kinyanjui Trade, Kabogo ICT, and Kagwe Agriculture. What do you think will be their first assignment?
They will now be, playing at the direction of the president. But one of the interesting things to remember is that these are former President Uhuru's nominees, if we were to look at it strictly.
No, from the previous regime.
Not exactly. They came after William Ruto, the president, met Uhuru Kenyatta. President William Ruto would never have appointed Mutahi Kagwe for anything. That was not his direct decision. And that is from those of us who are reading things from the outside. I doubt that President William Ruto would have, by his own on his own volition, appointed Lee Kinyanjui for anything. So these are stricto sensu President Uhuru Kenyatta's nominees. They are his nominees by proxy. I would say
your
that.
Words.
Yes, my observation. Yeah, those are my observations. But in terms of what they should set out to achieve, if at all they want to survive in this government, then I think they should just carry out the directions of the president. Because and I still insist that it appears that there is a heavier hand that comes from the office of the president into the ministries than we have been used to seeing. So one of the things that Mutahi Kagwe should do in agriculture is to address the perennial issue of farm inputs, fertilizer, the foremost of all. Mithika Linturi went away on the backdrop of a fertilizer scandal. So if, as he had promised us, though he did not do anything about it in the Ministry of Health, if he addresses fertilizer cartels, if he manages to do that, and that would mean that he's biting off the hand that is feeding him, then he would have made a mark at the Ministry of Agriculture. I have no hopes. I have no hopes with the ICT ministry because, again, I talked about competence. There is nothing about William Kabogo that screams ICT or screams innovation. So I am lost at what exactly he will be doing in that ministry. In terms of trade and investment, my hope is that that ministry will come alive. Because the Kenya Kwanza government has promised us, good things. Though again, we must measure our hopes because they promised us the heavens in 2022. And we are at the gates of Sheol, as it were. So that ministry, the Ministry of Trade, should come alive and make sure that, because we are heading into a season, in my view, of bilateral trade engagements, especially this year onwards, we should get to a point where trade is coming alive. They should champion the decrease and doing away of certain taxes that we have been crying are stifling the business environment.
Okay.
No,
so
I think
we are actually out of time.
I think I just want to say one thing.
In 1
because,
second.
Yeah, maybe in 2 or 3 seconds, if you allow me. Wakili, from the point where when the government started appointing, everyone comes from certain backyard. And therefore, when someone has been nominated, perhaps I will not want to relate him to the assumption that he is representing someone, because when ODM was chair was appointed into cabinet, everybody talked about Raila's nominees. But the point is that you are picked as a Kenyan, and the moment someone says, nominate for me this person, then all other factors come to play. Qualification, exactly. Qualification and other things. As an individual now, we need to look at it as an individual. But quickly,
in 1 second,
yes,
because we're actually out of time.
I think the CS must look at issues related to policy implementation.
Okay.
Public
All CSs?
Exact.
Okay.
Public service delivery, corruption and accountability within the ministry, interagency collaboration, and their stakeholders engagement. Their key issues: resource allocation within the ministry, human resource management, crisis management. These are things that we expect from any CS once you are given the appointment. Once he looks at those issues, he does not have to impress anyone. He takes up his role and makes sure that the deliverables that are expected out of him are addressed with immediate effect. And all those things comes in a package form as soon as he lands in the state ministry. So I think that is how it goes.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening to talk about the significance of the appointments of the 3 CSs, a function that we will see be crowned tomorrow at 10 a.m. for the swearing in of the CSs. Thank you very much for making time for us. I do appreciate. Let's proceed. Let's now take a look at what's making headlines in the world of business. Now, tea value chain players are calling for renegotiation and reintroduction of the minimum tea buying price to cushion farmers from price fluctuation, as well as reduce costs of unsold tea at the Mombasa Tea Auction. Led by Kenya Tea Development Agency Chairperson Enos Njeru, the value chain players argue that each tea factory should have its own reserve tea price, as opposed to the current blanket pricing, to give buyers options and make Kenyan tea more competitive.
In 2021, Kenya set the minimum price of a kilo of tea sold for the export market at $2.34 in order to cushion farmers from losses. However, the regulation had unintended consequences as buyers shunned tea produced in the country, leading to stockpiling at the auction. In October 2024, the Mombasa auction, the world's second largest tea trading platform, scrapped the minimum price following government intervention and calls from stakeholders in order to boost sales.
Our international buyers. Several tea factories have experienced low absorption of teas in the market due to the rankles and political interferences. This has an adverse effect on earnings of our farmers. We plead with all stakeholders to keep off from interfering with the boards elected by the farmers. Any matter of concern can still be handled through dialogue.
Tea stakeholders now say the commodity has experienced a price drop, threatening the livelihood of thousands of smallholder farmers who depend on tea cultivation as their primary source of income. KTDA, which represents over 600,000 small-scale farmers, is urging the government to reinstate the minimum reserve prices to cushion farmers from the price drop.
We have 2-3 individuals who've decided and who have taken it upon themselves to make sure that the farmer will not enjoy the hard work of his hands. We want to put on notice.
In addition to advocating for price stabilization measures, the stakeholders are also urging policymakers to maintain a clear separation between political agendas and the regulation of the tea market.
Tumefanya kazi. The government their responsibility is to assist us sell tea, identify markets, but not to come home and fight with the board directors.
Rais tafadhali atuite ndio tumlilie asikie kilio cha mkulima. Si ni kweli directors? So me I'm only asking one thing. Hapa hakuna kitu kingine hapa. Tuache kuongea mambo mingi hapa. Tukutane na president.
KTDA believes that implementing the measures will protect both farmers and the broader tea industry, ensuring its continued contribution to the economy.
Kenya is welcoming Japanese investors to leverage its economic position in the continent to access the expansive African market of 1.3 billion people. Acting Cabinet Secretary of Investments, Trade and Industry Salim Mvurya says that Kenya's strategic membership with the African Continental Free Trade Area makes Kenya an attractive investment destination, but also offers more markets to Japanese products and services that are produced in Kenya.
Kenya exported goods and services worth 11.76 billion shillings to Japan in 2023, including cut flowers, tea, coffee, and nuts, and imported goods and services worth 130.34 billion shillings, ranging from cars, trucks, steel, and machinery. Now, the government says it is looking to bolster trade between the two countries even further by creating an enabling environment for investors looking to set camp in the country.
We are very keen on enabling, the business environment, and therefore, through policy, legislative, and administrative framework, we will continue, to find areas that we can support our investors and our business people and the private sector.
Acting Cabinet Secretary of Investments, Trade and Industry Salim Mvurya added that Kenya is ready for more investment, including using the country as a launchpad into the continent.
When the investors in Japan invest in Kenya, this is then the African destination. This is where you can access the African market, and this is where you can also access the European market and also the Middle East.
Kenya
ranked first among African countries in a survey of Japanese companies interested in doing business in Kenya, in Africa. The joint public-private mission was launched in TICAT 4 in 2008, and Kenya is the only country that Japan dispatched the joint public-private mission 3 times.
Japan's foreign direct investment in 2022 reached $161.4 billion, with Kenya offering a growing market and leveraging Japan's technology to support its development. Alanauko, Prime Edition.
Now to a segment we all usually look forward to on every Thursday, the magical Kenya scenes. Now Mount Kenya Forest in Nanyuki is not just a destination, it is a vibrant tapestry of adventure, nature and culture. The Central Kenya destination prides in its breathtaking scenery, fresh mountain air and an array of exhilarating sports activities, as Muchuma Odim highlights tonight on Magical Scenes.
Welcome to Mount Kenya Forest, bordering Nanyuki on one side and Meru on the other. A haven for both thrill seekers as well as those yearning for tranquility from nature.
People are able to see the diversity of nature, and in that, and wild animals as well. And we train people to know they can survive in what they would normally call a very harsh environment. And because when now you had Mawe alluded to the solo night, is where we literally will put you into one position on your own for a minimum of 12 hours on your own. And you learn that you will not die.
Hapa tunafundisha vitu inaitwa hands on. Unajifanyia tent yako, unajenga mwenyewe, una make sure iko safi mwenyewe, chakula chako unapika mwenyewe, kuni unatafuta mwenyewe, na mazingira yako yote unahakikisha yako safi wewe mwenyewe.
The lush greenery of Mount Kenya Forest welcomes you with open arms. The towering trees alive with birds chirping and rustling leaves create a serene backdrop that is perfect for a variety of outdoor activities.
When people are given things like fitness and challenges that will make them feel that now they are ready for the forest, we bring them up here into the forest. We hike into the forest using maps and compass. We camp in the forest. We also do solo nights in this forest.
For us, it's kind of now a final test as to how robust you are. Because when you are standing at Lelana Point, about 5,000 meters above sea level, you have conquered. There's no question about it.
Whether you are ziplining over the forest canopy or scaling the rugged terrains of Mount Kenya, the beauty of this region is simply unparalleled. For those seeking a more challenging adventure, the iconic Mount Kenya beckons. As the second highest peak in Africa, it offers a range of climbing routes suitable for mostly seasoned climbers. The ascent is not merely a physical challenge, it is a journey through diverse ecosystems. After a day filled with adventure, the charm of camping in Nanyuki is irresistible. Local delicacies cooked over an open flame add to the experience, allowing guests to the flavors of Kenya while sharing laughter during campfire stories. So pack your bags, breathe in the fresh mountain air, and prepare for an unforgettable journey in the jewel of Kenya. Chuma Odim, Magical Scenes in Nanyuki.
Thank you very much, Muchuma, for that beautiful report. Moving on, the government has started a countrywide soil testing exercise that will inform future subsidy fertilizer purchases. Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization lead researcher Peterson Jeru says the soil sampling is part of an integrated fertilizer subsidy program that aims to ensure the government procures chemicals that are efficient in each ecological zone in the country to increase food production. Farmers have been encouraged to understand their soil profile in order to apply suitable chemicals and reduce incidences of soil acidity.
Sampling in Kenya and results in Kenya from the soil sampling, it has never been done for some while. For digital soil mapping, what has been done in Kenya, it has been done in a very small scale, whereby very few samples have been done. From that, we expect that the results, this work is planned that it will be undertaken by the entrepreneurs already employed by the government. These entrepreneurs, they are the ones who are going to do the soil sampling.
And so this exercise is very vital in terms of advising government, in terms of what needs to be done to the soils. We have the government policy in terms of fertilizer subsidies, and this project is going to be very vital in guiding the government.
Now, Kenya will continue to work with China to drive infrastructure development with a keen eye on the extension of the standard gauge railway from Naivasha to the Malaba border. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, while welcoming the new Chinese ambassador to Kenya, Guo Haiyan, reiterated Kenya's commitment to maintaining strong diplomatic ties with China.
Kenya's partnership with China has been instrumental in the country's growth, especially in large-scale infrastructure projects such as the Standard Gauge Railway and the Nairobi Expressway. The newly appointed Chinese ambassador to Kenya, Guo Haiyan, and Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi agreed to explore newer avenues where other partnerships in areas such as ICT, energy, education, climate change, governance, peace and security, and political stability, among others, can be implemented. Mudavadi said Kenya's road and railway infrastructure is the main artery to Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, South Sudan, and Eastern DRC, among other African countries, hence the need to achieve a stable road and rail network to grow the region's economy. Among Haiyan's immediate assignments include working with the Kenyan government to steer the implementation of the outcomes of last year's Forum on China-Africa Cooperation meeting in Beijing. The meeting held in September last year culminated in the adoption of an action plan outlining a comprehensive roadmap for future cooperation that will cover vital sectors such as trade, infrastructure, health, agriculture, green development, and security. Haiyan takes over from Zhu Pingjian, whose tenure ended in December after a successful 4 years. She is the 18th envoy since Kenya established diplomatic relationships with China approximately 61 years ago. Nduta Mokami for Prime Edition.
EU Ambassador to Kenya Henriette Geiger says Kenya should focus on empowering the vibrant, young and tech-savvy population to tap into opportunities within the European market, especially after the implementation of the Economic Partnership Agreement. Here is Wairimu Njenga with the details.
27 countries, $13 trillion a market is what Kenyan businesses and exporters will access following the implementation of the Economic Partnership Agreement. Now, traders are being urged to take advantage of this agreement to grow our exports. Now, earlier on, I spoke to the European Union Ambassador to Kenya, Henriette Geiger, and the Principal Secretary for Trade, Alfred Mbudo, and this is what they had to say.
Kenya has the aspiration to become an upper middle income country, and for that to only export raw products will not get you there. So you have to add value to the agricultural products that you already have, but you also have to go into other sectors and of higher value, like the creative industry I talked about, one of the fastest growing sectors in Kenya, or the digital sector. You have such a young and thriving population.
And what this shows is that there's strong appetite for a stronger engagement with the European Union. But what we need to do is to work with the entrepreneurs so that we are able to have them understand and exercise this market.
The ambassador noted negotiations are ongoing to come up with an EU-Kenya service agreement that will explore how to earmark more employment opportunities for Kenyans.
The next probable step is to bring this into the digital space and do these workshops digitally, also to sensitize our European actors, and maybe to do that sector by sector, to go more into detail on what needs to be done.
The EU ambassador to Kenya, who was addressing suppliers, businesses and entrepreneurs in Nairobi, emphasized on the importance of increasing awareness about the benefits and opportunities presented by the Kenya-EU Economic Partnership Agreement.
And the EU, we set the framework. So, and the people here today, they are the ones who have to make it into a reality. So, if you want, we have given the stadium, but you have to run.
The EU and Kenyan officials committed to jointly promote climate-friendly sustainable production and build robust supply relationships to boost trade.
One is equally to create supply relationships in areas whereby the EU is strong, be it in machinery, be it in chemicals, be it in other areas such as that. But two is to ensure that we constantly work with the EU so that the business climate locally is one that is attractive for businesses that want to establish here.
Gregor said the successful implementation of the agreement will stimulate integration of the East African Community, COMESA and African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Wairi Mujenga for Prime Edition.
Now finally, in business, TikTok plans to shut U.S. operations of its social media app used by 170 million Americans on Sunday, when a federal ban is set to take effect, barring a last-minute reprieve. People familiar with the matter told Reuters news agency. However, reports indicate that U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, whose term begins a day after the ban starts, is considering issuing an executive order to suspend enforcement of a shutdown for 60 to 90 days. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines across the borders.
TikTok users who have downloaded TikTok will theoretically still be able to use the app, except that the law also bars U.S. companies starting Sunday from providing services to enable distribution, maintenance or updating of it. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has said he should have time after taking office to pursue a political resolution of the issue. Sources say TikTok plans to give users an option to download all their data so that they can take a record of their personal information. TikTok users took to social media platform X to express their disappointment with the potential ban on the app in the run-up to Sunday when the ban takes effect. Meanwhile, Germany's economy shrunk for the second year in a row in 2024, heightening concerns about the recovery prospects of Europe's largest economy amidst persistent struggles. Price-adjusted gross domestic product for Germany declined by 0.2%, following a 0.3% contraction in 2023, marking Germany's first consecutive years of negative growth since the early 2000s. The Federal Statistical Office says high energy costs, economic uncertainties and intensifying global competition as major factors hampering growth. The export-oriented economy also faces mounting challenges as exports dropped by 0.8%, while imports edged up by 0.2%. Finally, borrowing costs for the UK government have plunged as an unexpected drop in inflation at home and in-core inflation in the US raise bets that central banks will cut interest rates in the months ahead. The interest rate charge on UK key government debt dropped below 4.8%, retreating after last week's surge when it had hit the highest level in 16 years. The moves have followed new figures showing inflation cooled to 2.5% in December from 2.6% in the prior month. UK bond yields soared to the highest levels since 2008 last week as concerns over the UK's economic outlook and rising borrowing costs spiked.
Hello, the total is 1,981.
How much?
1,981. Are you sure you want to?
I'm sure. Please hurry up. Do you remember me?
Why aren't you talking to me?
Hey, who are you? Why do you have my wife's phone? Tell me.
A very good evening to you. My name is Daniel Wahome and welcome to Prime Edition Sport. The Harambee Stars were last night at the KICC Nairobi drawn into Group A of the CAF African Nations Championship CHAN, where they will face two-time champions Morocco, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Angola and Zambia. The tournament, which was to start on the 1st of February, was postponed to August.
The CHAN draw conducted last night in a glittering ceremony in Nairobi also placed DRC, Congo, Angola and Zambia in Group A together with co-hosts Kenya, creating a highly competitive pool with several past champions and top teams. Tanzania, another host nation, finds itself in Group B, where it will play Madagascar, Mauritania, Burkina Faso and the Central African Republic. The third host nation, Uganda, is placed in Group C and will face Niger, Guinea and two other teams that are yet to qualify. Defending champions Senegal are the top seed in Group D, which also includes Congo, Sudan and Nigeria. Algeria, Comoros, Gambia, Malawi, Egypt, South Africa and Gabon will compete in a qualification campaign to fill the remaining two slots. The Total Energies CHAN, which has had 7 previous editions, will be held in East Africa for the first time since Rwanda hosted the tournament in 2016.
You know, hosting CHAN in East Africa, Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya is going to be a very big opportunity for our young people in terms of talent inspiration, talent nurturing, and also talent exposure. So this is a very good moment for the football in East Africa, and more importantly, a very important day for Kenya and East Africa in terms of profiling our opportunities and potential even in other areas of investment, trade and tourism.
No, it's good because we'll have everyone will be available, even our players. They won't have their games or the league matches, so we'll have everyone on board.
Tutahakikisha kwamba kila mtu ambaye amekuwa katika shughuli ya kuandaa mchuano huu na kuweka maandalizi timamu ya kwamba hatutalegeza kamba, hatutaweza kupoteza muda mwingine.
Hii ilikuwa ni pamoja ni bidi moja. Kama mtu mmoja angekuwa hakutimiza masharti, ilikuwa tunatoka wote. Na ndio maana tumehangaika na Mwenyezi Mungu katusaidia, tumeweza kupata kwa pamoja. Baada ya kupata kwa pamoja, tutakapokuwa tumemaliza CHAN na AFCON, sasa hivi tunaweza tukaandaa Tanzania peke yake, Kenya, Uganda peke yake, kwa sababu tutakuwa na infrastructure ambazo ziko sawa.
We know how to prepare for them, and I believe that the national team, the Uganda Cranes, is one of the most supported national teams on the continent. Ugandans may not support club football, but for the national team. So with this 12th player in Kampala, and it's very, very difficult to beat Uganda in Kampala. We believe that will give us an edge. Our target is to get out of the groups, and if we get out of the groups, then anything happens.
Morocco and DR Congo have each won the tournament twice, along with Tunisia, Libya and defending champions Senegal.
Now, Kenya Prison Service will hold their Inter-Regional Cross-Country Championship this Saturday at the Prison Staff Training College in Ruiru, where they will select their team to the AK National Cross-Country Championships early next month. They were today boosted with checks worth 100,000 shillings from Magereza Sacco and Kingdom Bank, which was presented to the Commissioner General of Prisons, Patrick Arunda, at the headquarters, while side trophies and sports presented them with trophies. The Commissioner General of Prisons said the sponsorship will go a long way in making the championship a success in their endeavor to bring fresh talent to take them to glorious heights. The Kenya Prisons athletics team boasts of, among others, cross-country silver medalist Lilian Kasait, 800 meters national women's champion Lilian Odira, Vincent Keter and Caren Kibbett, who are all expected to spearhead their excellent culture in the cross-country meet.
Fresh talent during our recruitment when it takes place. And also, we do have an ambitious plans to construct a state-of-the-art sports complex at Nairobi West prison. This facility will enhance training and development of opportunities for our athletes, positioning prison service as a hub for sporting excellence.
So far I'm preparing for the indoors. Early next month I'll be going for my first indoor event, and I'm doing this cross country just for perfection. You know the season is long, so I hope to do my best this season.
Focus na endurance, juu bado ni mapema, ikifika mwezi wa 5 hivi ni speed. Yeah.
Now, Felicia Oko progressed to the semi-finals of the ITF-CAT East Africa Zonal Championship when she beat Ethiopia's Salaro Meleko in straight sets in the under-14 girls quarter-final singles match at the Nairobi club. Felicia beat Meleko 6-1, 6-1 to book a semi-final place against Keza Kimana of Burundi, who overcame Lila of Kenya 6-3, 6-2. The semi-final will feature an all-Kenyan affair between Gikunda and Ogamba, who beat Rogoe in straight sets. So did Gikunda against Mbambazi of Burundi. In the boys under-16 singles, Miki Nobel Igiraneza of Burundi managed to defeat M. Chandrana of Kenya's Oshwal Junior Academy 7-5, 6-2 to progress to the quarterfinals, where he defeated Hezbon Okuku by 2-1. Igiraneza will play Kenya's Moraga in the semi-finals after Moraga beat Sebi 6-3, 7-5, 7-5 in the last 8. The championship, which has attracted 7 countries, is part of a build-up for the African Junior Championship.
The game that I just played against Mickey from Burundi, the C2, feel like I played really well against him, but I could have done better. Could have taken him to at least 3 sets, but I tried my overall best. Next year, it'll be another chance, and I have to do well. I promise I'll do well.
And home golfer James Kariuki returned from a golf sabbatical to win the Murdoch University Open at the Par 71 Muthaiga Golf Club on Wednesday. Kariuki's win came off a score of 66 net, playing off a handicap of 28. And former Treasury Cabinet Secretary Jugona Ndungu finished as the men's runners-up with a score of 67 net. In the ladies category, Nancy Ndungu took the top spot with a score of 69 net ahead of Vice Lady Captain Beatrice Soy. John Gitonga recorded 74 gross points to win the gross prize with a slow but steady performance. Youngster Alan Mutonjia claimed the junior prize with a score of 100 net while playing off handicap 24. The winners of the nines were Anthony Saiti, Adil Suleiman, achieving 30 and 29 net respectively.
There's a lot of interest in players playing in the lead up to the event, and this cuts across the parents who would be the parents of your students and the students themselves who are playing a lot of junior golf amongst our junior golfers in Muthaiga Golf Club.
It's been a great day. We're here to talk about the job opportunities, the diversity in our course offerings, and how we're going to be looking to grow our partnerships here with Kenya and Africa as a whole.
And that's the sport for tonight, and more to come tomorrow. I know we've got a lot of cross-country to talk about. The National Police Service are having their cross-country championships tomorrow morning, so that's one to happen. Over the weekend, the Prisons cross-country championships, and next month, the big one, the National Cross-Country Championships. My name is Daniel Wahome. Thank you for being with us. Back to you, Caren.
Thank you very much, Daniel Wahome, for keeping us up to speed with the latest sports news in the world. That brings us to the end of tonight's edition of KBC Prime Edition. Thank you very much for staying with us. Our sign language interpreter this evening has been Brian Muraru. Remember, you can follow more updates and engaging stories on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. I'm Caren Kibbett, and I'll see you tomorrow for the Easy Friday Bulletin. Have a good night.
PSD sahi ishafika na ni kubwa kubwa. Kweli? Hii Kristi ni bomba na Blue Santa kupitia star 570 hash option 1. Rudia. Star 570 hash option 1. Iko PlayStation 5 na 55 inch TV na iko 500,000 Kenyan shillings. Na mbuzi moja? Na mbuzi. 1 million Kenyan shillings na Samsung S24 Ultra. Na mbuzi moja? Iko 2 million